Who is a site reliability engineer? Well, this is Google's definition. Google says a software engineer who uses code to manage the reliability of software systems is a site reliability engineer. Well, that's a great definition. Here is my view on what the characteristics of a good SRE are, and this is based on my 1 decade of experience working as an SRE myself, and interviewing the SRE candidates for recruitment and so on and so forth. Here are the characteristics. I'll point out 7 in this list. The first one there is they know SRE metrics. They can tell whether their app is healthy or unhealthy in minutes. You should be able to look at logs. You should be able to look at the health of, determine the health of your system really fairly quickly and accurately. You believe in extreme automation. You say no to doing the same thing manually more than twice. If you do something, small things, think about anything in your day-to-day life. If you continue to do something manually, you are lacking one of the prime skill or mindset that an SRE should be having. You can define and implement SLIs, SLOs, error budgets, all the core SRE concepts. You are able to identify and build reliability fixes backlog for dev teams. Well, as you support and these applications, if you as you are closer to the health of your application systems, and as you have been doing the postmortems, etc., after the production incidents that you run into, you should be able to identify a series of reliability fixes or tech debt that your dev team should be taking up to further strengthen the reliability or harden the system, if you will. So you should be able to do that. That's number 4. Number 5 is you should be able to look for like failure scenarios and think failover. Say you are a retail company or an e-commerce website, and during the checkout there is a third-party call that fails. Now, how do you take that scenario? If that third-party call fails, do you let your customers get impacted and not be able to check out? Or you would want to put a failover in place so that, there is a degraded experience, but still the customer is able to move forward with the transaction and submit the order. Things like that. So you should be able to identify failure scenarios and think failovers. You should always be thinking continuous improvement, optimization. Now that's a generic statement, but that applies very well to everything that you do as an SRE. And last but not the least, you love logs. You love logs because logs, every system, every application that you support generates tons of logs, whether the apps are running in GCE, a standalone VM, or in Kubernetes clusters, or in a managed platform like Cloud Run, and whether in GCP or AWS or whatever platform you might be working on. There are tons of logs that all of these systems generate, and you should have a knack for going into the logs and being able to figure out the insights from the logs around the health of your application. Here are the fundamental skills that an SRE should possess. I'll point out 8 in this list. Some of these are generic or conceptual, but are very important for an SRE to be successful in their career. Here we go. The first one is you gotta know at least one public cloud well. You might be working in Google Cloud or AWS or Azure or OCI. Pick your poison, if you will, but you got to know one public cloud really, really well. You should understand DevOps, all the DevOps concepts around infrastructure as code, like using Terraform, or you understand how CI/CD works and is implemented in the ecosystem you are supporting your applications on. Because guess what? All the observability or SRE concepts that you will be building, implementing, you will be using the existing DevOps ecosystem for building your SRE stuff as well. So you must understand how DevOps practices work in your environment. you should be hands-on on Git. Now there's no going away from Git. All the code that you will be managing for SRE, like your dashboards, your alerting, monitoring, everything that you will build, even that is code. And you will be using the existing Git setup, either it's GitHub or Bitbucket or cloud native source repositories that you might be using. You will be using Git in some form or shape always as an SRE for any company or client that you might be working. Linux know-how, very important. Every VM out there, mostly you'll find yourselves interacting with Linux. So the OS distributions like CentOS or Debian, you will come across these machines, every now and then. All the pods in Kubernetes, for example, even those are going to be Linux based. So you'll find yourselves interacting with Linux a lot as you work as an SRE. The package managers that these Linux distributions support, like Yum, DNF, or apt-get, you'll find yourselves installing quick utilities here and there using these package managers. So you have to be comfortable with those Linux essential commands so that you can find your way around as you're working in Linux. IP addresses, subnets, you need to know as you build your Kubernetes clusters, for example, how does Kubernetes uses the RFC 1918 private IP space to allocate private IPs for pods, for services, and so on and so forth. All of that will become very complicated if you don't understand the basics around IP addresses and how subnets work. VI editor, you should know one of the editors out there. There's Nano and there are others as well, but I find that VI editor is the most prominent one out there, which is going to be on every Linux distribution. And there are some nuances associated with the VI editor. To start with, it might feel a little too overwhelming, but once you know the basics, it's just easy to work around through, and it's just easy because it's on every Linux distribution. Next is master CLI, the command line interface. That if you're not comfortable with CLIs, in my mind, you're lacking some basic engineering skills. So you have to master a CLI. How do you work your way around in Linux terminal, and even if you're in Windows, then PowerShell, etc. On the command line in Windows as well. But you gotta know the command line. You should be comfortable using terminal. If you're working in G-Cloud, then GCP, then G-Cloud is relevant. Kubernetes, you must know kubectl really well, and there are corresponding G-Cloud corresponding technologies or the CLI languages for AWS or the public cloud that you might be working in. But mastering CLI is a must. You understand the basic networking, IP addresses, and cyber ranges. We touched upon that a little bit on number 4 when we talked about Linux, but that's an important part to understand. Automation. Now, you should have a knack for automation. You do anything manually once, twice, you gotta find a way to write a piece of code to automate. If you're in Windows environment, know PowerShell really well, or if you're in Linux environment, know Bash really well. Python comes in handy as well when it comes to scripting, because Python is packed with a lot of powerful features that you might find handy to do automation. And last but not the least, you should know some industry recognized monitoring visualization tools out there. Grafana is one of the popular ones out there. Dynatrace, Splunk, you name it, Datadog, there are many out there. But you should know some of these monitoring visualization tools, and not just know these, how do you go about integrating these with the cloud environment or your ecosystem that you might be working in. And how do you go about building the observability, the golden signals, dashboards, the SLIs, SLOs, etc. in these monitoring tools. Well, that brings us to the end of this video. If you like the content, please do subscribe the channel and hit the bell icon to get notifications when new videos are posted. If you are genuinely interested in learning all the foundational skills pertaining to SRE and platform engineering in general, and all the skills that we in general talk about on Everything Cloud Platform, stick around and follow along all the videos that are posted. I'm sure you had a wonderful time, and I will see you in the next session.